Okay, so my name is Lata. I'm an early childhood educator. I love the way Reggio uses the environment as a teacher beyond uh, all the other tools and techniques that you have. I've been working with schools and parents and families to help them through the parenting journey for almost 10 years now. So yeah, it's been it has been a long journey, but yeah, time flies. You don't realize. um it just feels like yesterday though.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we are going to do about child-led learning, and it's not rocket science. I wanted to start with a question. Let me share my screen first, and then we can take it from there. Yeah, hang on a second. Madhuri, you'll have to tell me if the screen is
Yes,
now visible.
yes,
Kavita, true?
it is. It is.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so child-led learning. Quick questions. What would you do with tea powder, water, milk, sugar, and a teaspoon? Do you want to answer it, Kavita? Or the other unknown? I don't know who that is.
Them all.
Right?
I would just mix them all and stir with the spoon.
Uh-huh. Make some tea.
Yes, make some tea.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else who would like to go? What would you like to do with all these ingredients? Okay, we are going to visit this question once we are back towards the end of the presentation. Yeah, I'll take you through all the slides and then we're going to revisit this question. Yeah. So I wanted to start child-led learning with play, about how play is and what we think of play, and how play actually helps the whole child. So when they engage in play, it just looks really random to us. But what they're really doing is, there are a whole lot of background processes that goes through. They are trying to figure out things. They are trying to remember what they did earlier. They are trying to communicate with whomever they are playing. They are learning to focus, and in all this, they're also trying to solve problems. So if you look at it theoretically, they are actually learning, and they go through different stages of play. If you think about it, if when they are infants, they are they observe. They start with observing. Then when they progress on to their crib mobile, if you would have seen, they start kicking, they start feeling it with their legs. They are trying to understand the purpose of it. If you give them a bottle to feed, they will you'll notice they're playing with the bottle, they're looking at it, they're watching the milk or the water, whatever you offer to them, it flows out of the bottle, right? So they're trying to understand the meaning of it. So that's what probably we would call like a functional or a practice play, where they're trying to understand why this is here, right? They're trying to make meaning out of it. The next stage, as they progress and they figured out at any age, as they have progressed, they you would also see them trying to build things out of their own. Like if you give them blocks, they probably make a block tower. If you give the children sand, they'd probably hold it in their hand and make cakes out of it. So that's what is called dramatic play. And then there is games with rules. Like, for example, your child plays house or teacher or mummy daddy, or where you assign different roles to different people. But if all this, we don't see it happening, this is what happens at a very background level, yeah, to put it laymanish, but they are actually learning. If play is learning, then what is child-led learning? It is when the choice is given to the child to choose a kind of play which a parent or a caregiver can look closely and observe and see, how can I further it to help the child learn it better? Yes? So child-led learning is actually the child playing, but we as adults, we as parents understand that they are learning. Am I making sense?
So basically,
Yes.
what you mean here is that whatever for an adult's eye looks like play is actually a learning opportunity for a child. Am I correct?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So I put across some pictures to show what child-led learning may look like. It could look like the first picture wherein a child is holding thermocol balls found on the park. We often will say, "Oh, don't pick it up. It's not ours, or it's dirty, or things like that." But the child is trying to squish the ball. If you observe closely, maybe the child is trying to count. Maybe, what else do you think the child could be doing in the first picture?
Just collecting more of them or trying to touch in their pincer grasp or, you know,
Absolutely. Yeah,
I
but
think,
that's what we see. But
yeah.
what do you think what is play for the child by collecting something off the floor?
Yeah, so in our Montessori term, we always say that children below 3 have sensitivity towards things, and they are very fascinated
Mm-hmm.
by tiny objects. So over here, I would say that they are very fascinated to collect. Just seeing a tiny object will excite them, and they will go on to, use their pincer grasp, basically developing a skill to collect that. So it becomes a play, but at the same time, there is a development of skill.
Okay, absolutely, absolutely. I agree. I was actually going to say curiosity, because they're curious. They want to know what it is. They want to touch, feel, and see, does it feel the same way it looks to me? Is it hard? Is it soft? So the child here is driven by the curiosity to go and examine that particular object that has caught his interest. Yeah, like now in picture 2, where the child is writing some alphabets, do you see anything weird about that picture? What is learning for the child?
So basically, he's a small child. He's able to. Acha, what's the learning for the child? Maybe he's
Yeah.
like making impressions on the sand.
Yes. Madhuri, do you want to go and observe the child and see what is the child doing?
For me, it looks like he is tracing on the sand, but he is
Uh-huh.
doing it from right to left.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So when you're trying to, like we often say, write in full caps, or write in small letters, lowercase letters, why isn't mixed caps writing, a right way to write, a correct way to write? that is mixed case. If one is uppercase, one is lowercase, in a child's head, it is mixed case. And so is writing from left to right or right to left. And here, they are driven by curiosity, saying, why am I being asked? Like most of us start with English, obviously, or our own native languages. And then we are often thinking, saying, why we are writing from this direction and not writing in reverse. You'll often find reverse lettering, and we correct them saying, no, this is the wrong way to do it. But it is S. But if you show them okay, I'll come to that later. We won't go to learning opportunities yet. Okay, so I'll stop myself there. Let's look at the other picture. What do you see? What do you notice in the group?
Curiosity to know what someone's doing. What are they doing? Like, what is one?
Yes, Madhuri, do you want to take a go at it?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like there is something in one child's hand and everybody is having an interaction, and that, to go, that curiosity to go and peek in it. What is
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So I put up this picture to show like the group dynamics of how one child staying away from the group can also learn what's happening in the group. It's not necessary participation within the group. It is also participating from the periphery. That is also play, and that can also be learning. What they observe sitting. Okay, let's take this. When you're an audience to this presentation, do you observe me making mistakes? Yes.
Yes, at times.
If I am the presenter, I might be so oblivious to it.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. What a child learns being an audience to a play is very different from what a child could learn participating in a play. Right? And then the fourth picture was like child-led learning also looks like this. It can also be structured to say, write on a blackboard, or, make a particular kind of drawing. All that is learning and can also be play if it has all of this. What I wanted to say through this slide is how it's going to benefit my child. When you follow the lead of the child, and it is coming from the child, the play initiative is coming from the child, it's going to be inquiry based, as in child led. It's going to be based on the interest of the child. It's also going to be open-ended. But how can we as adults, we as parents, support it? By learning about the child, when we are going to know, when we observe them and we see, okay, this is what the child is going to do, and this is how I should scaffold it. Like, for example, a child is trying to string beads together. If you notice that the string is not going into the bead, would you correct the child and say, you have to bead it like this? Or you're going to scaffold them by modeling it to the child. When you model and they say, oh, your bead is going into the string, and this is the way, they're going to use that as an inspiration, instead of you correcting them, saying, no, the bead doesn't go like this, let me do it for you. And when we take control over it, right? So that way, when we follow the child's lead and use modeling techniques to take them where they want to go and reach that spot together with them, the outcome may not be stringing the bead together. The outcome may be them learning that, oh, if there is a hole, I can put any kind of object through it. For an adult, from an adult's perspective, the outcome will be, oh, we made a string or a garland together. But from the perspective of a child, it could be, what did I learn? I learned that any hole, any object can be passed through it and pulled out from the other side. Like, I think in Montessori terms, you call it, what is that? Object permanence. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Mm-hmm.
not for the beat stringing to an extent because they can see. It's more
Mm-hmm.
of feeling that success because the feeling is I was successful in putting the needle through the hole. Object permanence comes much earlier than that. That is when children are around 8, 9 months old.
Okay. 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 Yeah, but what I was actually hinting at was, there is no outcome. There is no outcome. It's more about the process.
Yes.
It is about what they make of that playtime, of that activity. Because for us, it might be stringing beads activity. But what actually they end up turning into is what is ownership and okay, so what I was saying is that's when they make a particular game their own, that's what becomes, they develop more ownership about that game, saying this is my game and this is how I play it. So it might not be an outcome driven game, wherein we decide the rules of the game and say this is the output. If I give you paint and paper, it has to be a drawing. It could be paper mache, colored paper mache. Yeah, so what they turn out of the game is what's going to help them develop the ownership and the confidence based on what they feel at that particular day. Yeah. Yeah. How it will benefit is also they're going to be more interested. Hello?
Yes, yes, I can hear. I'm here.
Yeah. So they're going to be more focused. They're going to have more attention in a particular activity. And they're going to get more creative because they are free to do what they want to do. Like I said, they're going to, if you give them paper and paint, they're going to make paper mache out of it instead of actually trying to draw, which might look as really messy. But in fact, they're going to your next activity, the child is going to be more interested and saying, okay, what can we do? So this slide was about the ifs and buts, saying how can children learn if they don't know what they're going to learn? Or what if they choose to play it safe and don't want to take risks? Or they want to be shy? Or what if I want to do additions and they're just playing with doodling away on the paper? Should I be correcting it? What would you say?
No, not correcting. You already told in the beginning scaffolding. So supporting the child, maybe doing something that you are expecting but not really drawings as such, but just giving boundaries. For example, if doodling is happening out of the paper onto the table, then probably just modeling them going back to the table, but not really correcting if they are making, just infinite circle, for example. So not really that.
Yes, absolutely. I completely agree with you, because I feel if they are doodling while during a math lesson, maybe they want to draw that day, and they don't want to do math. And if you redirect them to a drawing activity, which includes math, maybe you say,
So
we,
yeah.
sorry, go
Yeah,
on.
so basically, if it is doodling that the child is willing to do rather than doing the math activity, maybe we can turn the doodling into math activity itself. So if he's just made one doodle, we can say let's make four or five, and then start counting with it, and then maybe two different kinds of doodle and two another kind of doodle, and then they can, we can ask them to combine and ask how many are they together now. So the math activity will become a fun activity for the child because we have followed the child's interest, but intuitively he is also grasping the maths concept, which is a win-win situation for both.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like um, I had this child it's who didn't want to do math, and we ended up using a ruler to draw rectangles and squares, and adding up why it was not a square. And we learned geometry together, making shapes. So it was a learning opportunity, which would have otherwise been left unresponded to. So coming to the next slide was like, how can we support child-led learning? You can support this by preparing what the child has to do, allowing the child to lead every single activity. When you're not focused on the outcome of the activity and are more focused on the process of how the child is interacting with the environment. And then we follow the child's rules. Suppose they say, we want to play teacher, but teacher will be out in the balcony. Why not? We don't need a table and a desk, a table and a chair to sit. So you're following their rules. If they say we want to learn at the beach, or we want to play house, but our house is actually a tent and it's not a brick and mortar building, there is a learning opportunity about habitats, right? So and then, but this is possible only when we observe the child and we see where the child is taking the activity to, so we can respond to them. All of this without routines and rituals. If your child is older and doesn't want to learn, doesn't want to study, would you follow the child-led way of saying, okay, it's okay, you don't want to study today?
Not really. We have to define certain boundaries for them again. The
Yes,
rules will
yes.
work. Yeah.
So I feel one of the basics for following a child-led learning is you prepare the environment. You control the environment to facilitate a child's learning without controlling the child. Unlike in a traditional, conventional system of learning, wherein you control the child and say, you have to sit here at the desk with your book and a paper and a pencil, and that's how you will learn. That you're controlling the child's actions when we restrict them from getting up and walking around when the lesson is in progress. Yes. This slide, which of this is child-led?
I think all the three, but the last one, they're washing. Yeah, yeah. The last one is definitely not the child-led learning.
Okay, I was more under the impression that maybe all of it is.
Um,
It's
Possibly, I'm not sure, but if the adult is there, you don't know what. I mean, yeah, possibly, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. This it's just a matter of perspective of what we observe from the child. What I want to say from this slide is a child, depending on the personality of the child, uh, child-led learning looks very different. Some children may be very systematic and orderly about their environment, where some children might be messy and scatter a whole lot of things around. And for us adults, it might get very difficult when we have to control such an environment and actually see learning in all these activities. But it is not for us to judge. Every child learns irrespective of their personality type. When we try to mold them, we mold their behavior to suit us, with often without paying attention to what they truly are. If we as a parent like order and systems, the child may not necessarily want to follow that. Allowing the child to be as close as to their own personality type while participating in any activity brings out their own interest and brings out their true learnings. We're back to the making tea question again. I think Kavita got it the first time, and it's just us, so I'm going to let it be. So what I wanted to say from this activity was you could use it as color, you could use it to observe how solids dissolve in liquids. You could see how different liquids can be transparent and opaque. And there are so many other learning opportunities here with just these everyday ingredients. Yeah. This was a reflection of what I learned today and how will it change how I do things and how is it going to benefit my child. Would you like to think about any ways that it's going to help children?
Kavita, would you like to say something?
Yeah, so I don't know about children, but I think it will help the adults basically just to stay back from not letting them play, because it gave us like good insight as to that everything that is child-led that we think is playing has a kind of learning, has some learning in it actually. So obviously when the child is playing, we hold back and watch them first.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. Just holding back and watching them is a separate task altogether, because we often are like, you want to jump in and correct them and stop them from doing the wrong things. And
So two things that
sorry?
two phrases that are very popular in our Montessori circuit. One is follow the child, and the other one is help me to do things by myself. And child
Yes,
learning, exactly what I mean, it basically says it all in just one phrase.
absolutely. Because I think that's the most challenging part, because in our own interest to help the child and want the child to do better, we end up
Yeah.
helping the child and doing it for them, right from lifting their school bags or feeding them or trying to get them to see our way.
Yeah, and without realizing, we do a lot of things without realizing, because it's our instinct. Somehow we are hardwired to believe that the child is not capable because he's very tiny. They're tiny. But not apparently, but scientifically, it's proven that they have immense potential, much more than what we can give them credit for. Even now, the research is still ongoing, and people are still finding what goes in that small brain that the child is just burgeoning like anything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Great.
Yeah.
So that was it. I hope I stuck to the time.